Good morning, Bitcoin. My name is Thomas Hunt, and welcome to Proof of Work, the show about the people behind Bitcoin and how they got into Bitcoin. We're joined by NotSoFast from Twitter. How's it going?
Going great. How's it going with you?
It's going pretty good. It's great to be in Manchester. Took me a really tough airline and a really tough wait in the airport to get here, but eventually I got here. Yeah, 32-hour delay. That's multiple days.
Oh my
So
goodness.
yes, I was waiting for a long time. The plane was broken, but it all turned out fine, and I made it here.
I'm glad they fixed it or gave you another one.
Yeah, it was the same plane, but still good. So, well, we'd like to get started with everyone's favorite and most familiar question. What was your first computer?
My first computer was an Atari 400 in 1981. My dad got it. It would probably cost around 22,000 US in today's dollars.
Goodness.
So as you can imagine, my mom was not happy about it, but my dad figured out how to code some basic word games.
Wow.
When I say basic, I mean in the coding language BASIC.
Sure.
Where a word would float down from the top of the screen and then disappear, and I'd have to say it as like a 2-year-old baby.
Wow.
To get the next word, get them to press
So
the button
it was
for the next
educational
word.
right away. And now an Atari 400, that sounds really early. Did it have a keyboard? How much of a computer was it? How much of an Atari was it?
So this was actually before the 2600 gaming machines.
Wow.
So though it did have cartridges, and I still have this exact unit, and it still actually works.
Amazing.
I have the basic cartridge that you can put in, and it ran programs off audio cassette, but it had a keyboard.
Yeah.
So you could program on this.
That's when it starts. It's all that keyboard makes the whole difference.
Yeah, I agree. And there was lots of games too for kids. So
yeah. So how did you get started on it? Your dad was showing you the word games, but then maybe a few years, did you get into it?
Yeah, later on. I wasn't quite so good at the programming portion of it, but I could do very basic, simple things in the programming language BASIC, like 10 print hello, 20 over 10 hello down on the screen and stuff like that.
That's
little more than that, right?
Yeah.
But there were also games in there, and there was it was always in my room, so I would play around with loading a game from the audio cassette and watching it beep and boop and burp while the game loaded into the memory, and realizing how the components interacted with each other, and learning what it takes to run software on hardware.
And was that it? You were sold on computers and you just used them forever from then on?
I'm pretty sure, I'd never lost interest from that point. So thanks to Dad.
It's very cool. It's great to get the early start. I remember we had an old Texas Instruments computer that went on the TV.
Oh, yeah.
And then after that, we got the Apple II, and it was just so amazing. I could use the typing program and, of course, all the games.
Yeah.
And, it was just a fantastic thing. I was just into
we had
computers
an Apple II
from then
as well.
on.
So like some old games. I remember one Swashbuckler where you're just fighting different opponents with swords. Monochrome screen, so yellow on black. And it's amazing how much fun you could have with yellow and black.
Yeah. Kids today have no idea they have all these colors and the graphics. We had no colors. We had no graphics.
We had one color and one absence of color.
Well, I remember the Space Invaders, they put colored film down on the table.
Oh, that's right.
So that it would go through the various levels and simulate the color of the monsters.
Color.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right, so you had the early Atari computer. Later, you had the Apple II. How did you go from there to learning about Bitcoin? You were just always into computers, the internet, or did it just happen later?
Yeah, that's pretty much the general timeline of things. I was always interested in keeping up with tech, and so there was a quite famous blog called Boing Boing.
Sure. Yeah, the center of the internet, as far as I'm concerned.
For a long time. Yeah, at least definitely in the 2000s. I think the star's fallen a little bit since then.
It's still out there. They keep redesigning it. I lost interest a couple of times back. But
yeah.
I still like Cory Doctorow and the rest of the crew's amazing crew.
Same here. He's from my area of the world, Toronto, Canada.
Oh, so, nice.
So he's close to my heart. I remember reading about Bitcoin on Boing Boing in 2011, and there was a ton of skepticism surrounding it. They indulged Charlie Strauss, who is a regular contributor to Boing Boing, and just friends with the runners of Boing Boing. So they would always get his opinion, and I really liked him. as a writer, even though I didn't read a lot of science fiction, I liked what he wrote about pretty much anything.
Sure.
So his opinion about Bitcoin was profoundly negative, and still is to this day. I mean, I just read something he wrote recently.
He's sticking with it.
So.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
He's standing by his guns through come hell or high water, and I think he's sort of latched on to the environmental qualities of it now. The sort of
once again, I mean, we can fix that.
Yeah, well, it's not quite so simple as we're burning a ton of terrible for the environment fossil fuels to make this happen. We're it's much more subtle than that. We're actually mostly powering Bitcoin mining by renewables that wouldn't otherwise be used and would be often wasted. So,
and there's never a comparison with the existing system. How much does it take to run the armored cars, to run the tellers, to run the giant skyscrapers full of business people? Yes, it's hard to make that number, but just because it's easy to make the Bitcoin number and hard to make that number doesn't mean we should just give up about comparing them.
Right, right. And it's funny how the news narratives work out around this, because it's really, the main Bitcoin is terrible for the environment point is based on one person's personal website where they wrote a professional looking article. But it's really just a website based around a hit piece.
Sure.
And endless quoting for people who are concerned about the environment because it gets them reads, views, clicks, likes, etc.
Yeah.
So I took a look at the harder numbers involved in this. There was a study out of, I think, the University of Hawaii who made some ridiculous assumptions of just that difficulty goes up and to the right forever.
Sure.
And therefore power requirements go up and to the right forever.
Yep.
And so in 22 months or something ridiculous like that, Bitcoin consumes 7 times Earth's general ability to generate electricity.
When?
Bitcoin alone, right? Yeah.
We did it. We did it.
We did it. We took over the world 7 times over. Congratulations, Bitcoiners. We did it. So I got the feeling that, like, okay, they're putting the university name on this, but I bet you these are like, postgrad or undergrad students or something. This might be the only paper to their names, because I looked for their names and I didn't see a whole lot of other papers written by them. It was only a cursory look. But anyway, the point I'd like to make is, okay, how much energy does Bitcoin mining use? All of Bitcoin mining.
Sure.
And then let's double that. You get a number, and then that number is round about the electricity consumption of American Christmas lights in 2015.
Yeah.
So, do you hate Christmas? Do you hate Bitcoin? Like,
I like Christmas lights. I think we should have them year round.
Yeah. well, then you're 12xing the Bitcoin energy consumption.
That's probably why I moved to Vegas. They have the lights on every night.
Yeah, that's
neon,
true.
the whole thing. Like, I get to check that out whenever I want.
Yeah,
so.
I would imagine that takes a fair amount of energy as well.
I'm sure probably more than Bitcoin.
Yeah, quite possibly. And
Vegas is destroying the environment. Shut it down. How can you have this gambling place in the desert? What about the environment? You could say that about anything. Yeah. I mean, this ridiculous. We can't stop new technologies because we're worried about some old number. Like,
exactly true. And there's plenty of other points of comparison. The amount of energy used by those wall wart plugs from devices that are powered off. Now, I'm not talking about devices that are in use. I'm just talking about the devices that are not in use. Use about 2.5 times the electricity that Bitcoin network does.
We got room to grow.
Do you go and unplug all your stuff every time you don't?
Well, that's why all these switches in the UK, you can turn off the whole outlet for some reason. I have no idea why.
Why don't we have that in our area?
Oh, it drives us crazy.
It would crazy.
It already drives me crazy. I was like, is this camera charging? No. Oh, there's a switch. Okay. Every single time.
I'm sure just as crazy is for a Brit to go walk by and see just an outlet with nothing plugged in and a switch in the on position thing. An American was here. An
American was here. Damn energy wasting Americans. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out, I'm like, is electricity really expensive? Like, you have to save every penny? Like, turn off the light switches.
No, it's just the good social order code here. People care about their fellow human and their electricity use. So I think that's what they do here.
So you're into Bitcoin. You're into the electricity. What did you do next? Now that you had Bitcoin, what did you do with it?
Well, actually, I didn't have Bitcoin. I got discouraged because I looked into it and thought, okay, well, it sounds cool to me. So why does Charlie Strauss hate it so much?
Yeah.
And I looked into it and I thought, okay, this is a little too hardliner libertarian for me. So it's very cool. I got a wallet on my computer.
I
figured out how to type set generate true, but it was at the time when a CPU wasn't probably going to get me anything.
Yeah.
So I kind of left it alone for a while, and I thought, I'll listen for this. I'll watch for it.
Sure.
And then I didn't get back into it until I found out about Dogecoin, which, hilariously, as altcoins will do, pumped something like 120% today. But that's neither here nor there.
No!
Oh yeah! Oh no!
I don't have any.
I
think about it sometimes, but never at the right time.
Yeah. Well, it's a vicious circle to start getting into any of that. But but it was Bitcoin with a more friendly way of getting involved. It wasn't so libertarian, and there was a lot of ways for people kind of to help each other out. It was a friendly mimetic face on it that I think brought in enough people that eventually became Bitcoiners. And I like to classify myself as a Bitcoiner, yet also that type of coiner who shall not be named. Right? I feel like I do my best to inhabit both of those personae at once, so to speak. And very often, like I know there's a lot of passionate defense of Bitcoin as only Bitcoin, and I try to straddle the line and be like, you don't have to defend yourself against me. I'm nice. I'm a Bitcoiner like you. Yet also I like all this other stuff, even if it is. And if it does end up only being a method to generate me more Bitcoins in the future, guess what? I'll be okay with that. And even if not, even if some of this other stuff turns out to be kind of interesting or cool or sustainable or long-term, I'm okay with that too. Because that's where, my interests happen to lie, is where all the advancements are kind of going.
I actually went back and I thought about it a lot. I was like, why do I not like the altcoins? Why do I like Bitcoin?
Yeah.
And for me, it's that Bitcoin solves this really big problem of sound money.
Yeah.
And I was looking at this problem before Bitcoin, and I'm into technology, but I'm also into history. So I read about the Federal Reserve, and I'm like, what do you mean they're just printing money forever? What do you mean there's no limit? What do you mean I can't get an exact number of how many we've printed? Even just the digital number, the normal number, add them together, give me the number.
Right.
No idea. It's a black box system. So I'm like, this is awful. Whereas Bitcoin's this beautiful 21 million. I know how many there are. I know how many I have. I can look in your wallet, see how many you have. I mean, the whole thing's public. And for me, that's just such a bigger problem. Like, okay, so Ethereum solves the problem of companies that don't want to fill out forms but want to have their own stock. Right, well, that means you can scam people now because you're not responsible because you didn't have to fill out the form, so there's no due diligence anymore. Right. So I don't like that. I mean, I remember reading about the 20s and the 30s and how we developed all the stopping of the financial crime, how we stopped not all, but we tried to stop scams. We tried to stop people from losing their money. And with this thing, it was just like, the gates are open. Bring back all the old scams. And it's like, we're printing them. We own them. We're selling them to you. We can print more. All these things. And I just got a bad feeling from it. But on the other hand, having a token for something is fine. I use tokens at Chuck E. Cheese. I don't buy a whole bunch of them hoping that I can come back and the games will be cheaper. But, that aside, I'm not opposed to it. But it's just for me, Bitcoin's such a more important project.
Yeah, so, I think it underpins all the experimentation from complete scam to maybe something viable that just doesn't make sense to build on Bitcoin yet or right now or whatever. And so I'm actually doing a talk in a few minutes where I explore a lot of this. And to further to your point about the wild abandon of let's get these tokens and see how much money we can make for ourselves, there's sort of this fundamental aspect of permissionlessness, which I'm going to keep going over today, where you have a permissionless system, and it's really important to be able to interact with that however you see fit. Whatever history tells you is wrong, whatever other people say is wrong or right, it doesn't matter. It's on your own terms because it's a permissionless system. And so part of that is always going to create maybe the altcoin scam churn. Sure. And maybe lying under that, there could potentially be some other value over and above Bitcoin that's being built. Maybe one day it will become part of Bitcoin. Maybe it will become stay its own thing, and those two things will integrate. But I think that the exciting part is that it's playing out potentially differently from the way history would dictate. And that's what gets me excited about it, is that we don't know for sure. Yeah. All right. And then what are you working on now? A lot of stuff. I'm still a hobby miner. And I've expanded. So you actually have miners in your house, or do you have a warehouse? I have just miners in my basement right now. Oh, because I've had them in my living room before, and they ruin every movie I watch. Every movie is the same. Wow, 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 wow.
And I'm like, can we get rid of these damn things?
No,
And,
we can't. We gotta stack those
I
sats.
don't
We
know.
can't get rid of them.
It depends on the time. It
Yeah.
depends on the
Yeah,
time
that's
if it's
true.
worth
That's
running or
true.
not. And the other thing, the chips go bad so fast. You know,
Mm.
if you don't turn them over every 3 months or 6 months, you've got a nice refrigerator there, or a nice little heater. You know, it doesn't do much.
Yeah,
But-
yeah. No, I agree with you. I agree with you.
So you got some home miners.
Yeah,
and,
some home miners, and to build out the sort of mining aspect, I've advised a few projects that do some larger scale mining.
Nice.
Yeah, sort of get into it from that aspect. I basically advisory positions using the kind of notoriety and connections that I've built by trying to be a decently acting, honest, helpful person in the space to
Yep.
sort of put that to good use, whether it be building on Bitcoin or elsewhere.
Well, that sounds great. And where can people learn more about what you're up to?
I'm at NotSoFast on Twitter, and everything I do is pretty much there.
All right, great. Well, thanks so much for joining us.
Right on.
And we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, thanks for the
All
interview.
right.
Cheers.